Hi, Best Buds. It's Cathy with Cathy's Garden, and I'm so happy that you've joined me today. Today we're going to be taking an ordinary envelope and we're going to be making an elegant envelope. Oh my goodness, isn't that pretty? We have some stenciling, some stamping, fussy cuts, lace, baker's twine. This is the back. We use some crinkled seam binding, a paper flower, and some lace. And again, some stenciling and some ink stamping. I love how they've turned out. They're all just a little different from each other, so it makes them very unique. One of a kind, shall we say. And then there's this one right here. And then on the back side. Now these two right here, I'm going to show you what I put inside. So that's how it looks. And then inside of this one, I took, it's a permanent closure. It's part of it. This is how it looks inside. I took a piece of coffee dyed paper and I stenciled on it, I stamped on it, and I crinkled it up just to make it look old and vintage. And that's how it turned out. I did coffee dye it. I'm thinking that if I hadn't coffee dyed it, I think that stenciling would have shown up a little bit more, but I still love how it's very faint and you can still see it. It looks very old, like this letter has been around for a while. Now in the other envelope, I'm going to show you what that one looks like. So this one looks like this, and then on this side it looks like this. Let's open it up and let's see what's inside this one. This is the inside. I put one of those little booklets that we made yesterday. It fits perfectly inside this envelope. How lovely is that for a set? I think that is really, really pretty. You could pop it into an envelope or a tuck spot in your journal. You could tie it on the front of your journal. You could do lots of different things. You could actually give this as a gift. I'm thinking of Valentine's right now, but people are having birthdays now as well. I just think it's a lovely little piece. So how did I do this? Well, let me put this all back and I'm going to show you. I started with a plain white envelope. Mine happens to be 5 3/4 inches by 4 1/4 inches. You can use any size envelope that you wish. Mine has a gummed side right here in which to seal it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take my frayed burlap and my sponge, and I want to ink around the edges, and I've done 2 of them here. So I've inked around the edge, the flap, and the inside like that. The next thing I want to do, I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to bring in my milled lavender. It really turns out pretty pink. This is how the pad looks, just like that. I love, love, love this color. I have a stencil. Now this is how my stencil looks. I have no idea where I got the stencil from. I have no clue, you guys. I'm very sorry, but I cannot tell you where I got it from. I'm going to lay it on top of my envelope, and I actually, yes, it's going to be large enough. I can open up my envelope like this and lay this directly on. And then I can take my sponge and fill my sponge up with some of this beautiful milled lavender, holding my stencil and just going around and around so that I get my ink to go in the openings of my stencil. So this does take a few minutes. Try very hard to hold your stencil in place. If you move your stencil around, your image won't be as nice as if you hold it still as you apply your ink. Just moving my hand over here so I can, my sponge is starting to come apart. It's kind of hard. Whoops, see, I moved mine. See if I can get it back. It's hard on your sponge because it's kind of rough, but it's worth it. It really is worth it. Alrighty, there's my image. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, so I want to do this side, so I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to load up my ink, and I'm just going to go around and around to get my ink to be applied onto my envelope. Let me move that other envelope out of the way. Just like this. Okay. I had so much fun making these this afternoon. I just kind of got carried away and just kept making them and making them. They all turned out so different but yet the same, and I really liked that. They had their own unique little personalities. Okay. And there we go. Look how pretty that is. That is really quite beautiful. Now, I want to do another one. So, I'm just going to open it up like this. And I'm going to lay my stencil down. I'm going to I'm going to squirt a little bit of water onto my pad. Have you guys ever done that before when I was kind of feeling like it's getting a little dry? And it definitely helps bring out the ink. Okay, so holding my stencil in place. Oh, most definitely. I'm not having to push as hard. That was well worth the adding the water there. Now it's very effortless to get this ink color to go through the stencil. I'm going to hold it here. Okay, now let's see what that looks like. Wow, it's also, I think, a little darker. All right, that's gorgeous. That's just yummy, right? It's bled through. You can see it's wet. So I'm going to kind of bring it down like this. I'm not going to go on top of that. I think that would just be too much. I don't want to get, too much stencil on there. I don't think that would look good. Oh, wow. That's wonderful. So yes, that water helped a great deal. Whoops, sorry about that. All right, so let me put my, I knocked Mother Sponge over. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to bring in my coffee slurry. And all it is instant coffee, and it's dissolved in some hot water. It's not hot anymore. And I'm using my little sponge here, and I'm going to paint my envelopes with my coffee slurry. Just like that. I'm going to turn it over. Do the same thing on this side. All right, so it looks just like that. I'm going to dry that. I'm going to paint this one also with some coffee slurry. Turn it on this side. Paint it on. Now I'm going to dry this, and then when they're dry, I'll be back. All right, so my envelopes are all dry, and now they look like this. You can see how they looked very similar in the beginning, and now they all have their own, they each have, I should say, their own personality. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that my envelope's going to stay together. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue where it's pulling up a little bit. Okay, so now my envelope's going to stay closed. And what I'd like to do next is I'm going to bring in, I did it different ways when I was playing with it this afternoon. I liked it this way the best, even though you can't really see this a great deal on here, but I tried it both ways. I tried using this stamp with my other, and then I tried just using that one. I haven't used it yet. I'll show you in just a minute. I like the both of them together. Like I said, you're not going to really see a lot of this stamp, but it's the layering of it that I think looks so nice. So this is a Stamp Abilities. It is a faded text background. I do believe it's still available, and it says 2009. So it's very faded, as you can see. So it's not going to, what's the word I want? Even if and I'm not sure that my ink is real juicy. It's faded, so it's supposed to be that way. It's not supposed to be, you know, just real perfect. So you can just see it certain places, and probably not very well on camera. I'm going to turn it. I'm going to do it this way as soon as I get this all loaded up. And I do think I probably need to order another black stays on. You can see a little bit of it. You really can see a little better in person. Okay, so now I'm going to do this one. Okay, and then here, and then I'm going to turn it over. Okay, I actually think this one turned out a little, you can see it a little more here. I think you're able to see it on camera. All right, the next thing is I have my other stamp. That's this one. It's a paragraph stamp. I have no idea where I got it, guys. It's a little paragraph stamp. And I'm going to use this one on the front of my envelope. And this is going to be, it's going to simulate the to and from, or the address, I should say. Let me get my, like this. It's going to simulate the address. So I'm going to ink this up, and then I'm going to place it more over to the left because I want my decoration to go on the bottom right. So I'm going to put my decoration right here. So let me get my other one. Get this loaded up with some ink. There we go. All right. I'm going to take this one off, and I'm going to put on this little, it's kind of a corner swirly whirly. I like those swirly whirly stamps, you know. Inking this up, and I'm going to put it right here at the corner, bottom corner. And then I'm going to turn it, my envelope, and I'm going to put one here at the top, kind of like the return address. So it's going to look like this. Then I'm going to turn it over for the back, and I'm going to put one right here, just like that. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to put one down here at the bottom, and I'm going to put one up here at the top, like that. And then turn it over and put one right down here. There we go. All right, so the next thing that I want to do is it still has the glue for you to seal it up. And I'm concerned that that glue is going to be a problem as you use the envelope and maybe you don't want it to seal. And I'm afraid that it might get sealed. So I've got some strips of some paper that I dyed. I dyed some food coloring paper pink, and I've ripped it, and it's straight on one side and it's ripped on the other, and I've inked it up so it's got some ink on it. And I'm going to take the straight side and place it on the edge of the flap of the envelope. I'm going to use my art glitter glue. I'm going to add some glue on here, and then I'm going to lay this down. And I'm laying over on the end so that I can trim it for it to fit. There we go, got that. So I'm going to fold it, and I'm just going to trim it with my smaller scissors here. So here's a trim and a trim. And then I'm going to trim this part. Now, if any of it comes over too far, you can always trim it. Okay, so now it looks like that. I've got enough on this one strip that I can finish this off. So I'm going to do the exact same thing by adding some glue, really on top of the glue. And I'm going to add this edging. That's what I'm going to call it. It's an edging. And it not only looks cute, but it's going to keep your envelope from, you know, getting that sticky where you don't want it, or sealing your envelope when you don't want to seal your envelope. So I'm fixing that issue by covering it up. Covering up my glue. There we go. And I'm going to fix this part. Now, because I've inked it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink this up. Just like that. I think that looks real cute. I am going to do this one as well because we're making two together here. So I've got my other strip, and all I did was I used the straight side, and I just took and just tore, just like this, tore it down, and I just kind of gauged it. Somebody's asked me, that's about a ½ inch, and I just tore it all the way down, and then I went, after I got it torn off, I inked it up. And that's how I got to this point right here. Adding my glue here. And then laying the straight side down on the edge of the flap. And then trimming it out. And folding that back so you can get to those pieces that need to be trimmed. Here we are. And I need to do the other side. I think I have just enough. Just enough. Go ahead and do this out with our heater if you happen to hear that noise. The heater came on. And it's going to get really cold here at the end of the week. Oh, that's not far enough. At the end of the week, it's supposed to get really, really cold. But I think a lot of the United States is supposed to get super cold next week, or at the end of the week. So I hope you're all staying warm. And my heart goes out to California. It's just such a sad thing that's happening. All right, so we've got that fixed. So I need to ink this up right here. Okay. Is that, I need to probably glue this better right here. I see it's pulling up. I need to take care of that before it's a problem. All right, so now we're at this stage right here. The next thing I want to do, I'm going to turn it over here. I have got a little dish. I have got some fussy cuts, I should say, and there's some different flowers. I don't know if that's a rose. It might be. It looks like rose leaves. So I think those two will be fine. But I wanted to jazz it up even further than that. So I've got some little squares of lace. This is that lace that is from a shirt that I bought at the thrift store. I'm still cutting on that thing. A shirt will go a long ways when you're just using little pieces. So I am going to be using my hot glue gun. It's a Sure Bonder, and it's a high temp. It's got that little point on it, little tip. I'm going to just, I'm looking for my stick. Oh, here it is. Here's my little stick. And I'm going to add my glue right like this. I'm going to add my lace on top. I'm just kind of going to twirl it just so it ruffles it just a little bit. And I think that would look great on there. Maybe like that. I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. And I'm going to add my glue. Now, I use hot glue when I'm making videos because it's quick and easy and it's really great for videos. Things dry, the glue dries real fast so that I can keep going with the design. And now I'm going to use it on this because I'm gluing it onto that lace. If I would use a wet glue, it would take a little bit of time to get it glued down. And it looks just like that now. Now let's glue this one. So adding my glue and popping my rose, my fussy cut down. You could use whatever you have. Wouldn't have to be a rose. I just thought that it really did look very vintage that way. The next thing that I want to do is I want to put a little flat back pearl. I'm hoping that that's not going to bother me with the next thing I want to do. So here is a flat back pearl. I should have two of them. Yep, here's the other one. I'm in my dish here. Sorry about that. I'm in my little dish, and there we are. I think I'd like to place it right down here and just popping it on, and then right here and popping it on. There we are. Really sweet. That just really added a little something, something, didn't it? Let's finish our back and put on our closure. So what I want to do is I have some crinkled seam binding from my scrap cabin shop, and I thought this color was absolutely perfect with this project. I'm going to be gluing on my crinkled seam binding on the flat so that when we close it, it's going to be right here along the flat. You don't have to do much pinching or scrunching or pleating or anything like that. You really simply just kind of let it lay how it wants to and follow the flap of the envelope around. Now I am only doing a small section at a time, and the reason is because when you work with hot glue, it dries so very quickly that you must be ready to place whatever it is that you're placing on top of that glue, or the glue is going to dry before you're ready. And that is a lot of the reason why some people say my hot glue doesn't hold. Well, it's really basically because you're adding your item too late and the glue's already set up and it's not going to stick what you're adding onto it because you've waited too long. So it's a very quick process if you ever work with a hot glue gun. And do be careful, because in the very beginning, if you're learning, yeah, you will probably burn yourself. So be very careful. I'm going to trim my ends right here. I'm going to trim this free. Like that. Let's look at it, see how it looks. I think that looks great. Now I want to do my second one here. So once again, we're doing the outside of the envelope. So I'm going to lay it down like this. I'm going to get my end, and I'm going to place a little bit of glue and lay my crinkled seam binding right on top of my glue and press it down, working my way around a little bit at a time. Like that. Here we are. Okay. Uh-oh. I'm twisted. I am twisted. Let's get that down. There we go. Glue. Just placing the crinkled seam binding down on top of my glue. We're almost at the end, guys. There we go. And I'm going to trim it. And then I'm going to trim this end also. I think I need to add a little glue right here. And then trim that. Okay. Yeah, need a little more glue right here as well. There we go. Lovely. Now let's put on our closure. I have some pink baker's twine here, and what I found to be the easiest is we're going to be using our baker's twine to hold our envelope closed. And I'm going to first tie my envelope, tie my baker's twine around my envelope, and I'm going to tie a bow. That way I am assured that I am going to have enough baker's twine in the right position to tie my envelope closed when I glue my baker's twine on. This is the best way I know to do it. So I've got that one tied on. I'm going to do the same thing here. And you are going to want to lay your twine on the back and pull it around and then tie your bow on the front, because we're going to attach the baker's twine onto the back. So you want it in position to be able to attach it. And we're just making sure that we have enough twine to tie our bow. There we go. Turn it over, and you've already tied it on. Now place the baker's twine right at the point of the envelope's flap. There we go. Move this over. There we go. Move it over. Now, in my little dish here, what I have is I have 2 paper flowers, and I have 2 more pieces or little square pieces of that lace from that shirt from the thrift store. I'm going to add just a little bit of glue. I'm going to secure my baker's twine right here. And in doing so, I'm going to lay my lace on top, and I'm going to push it down. So this lace is on top of the baker's twine. I'm not gluing it shut, so I'm making sure that it's not glued shut, but it has glued the baker's twine in place. Now I do the exact same thing on this side. So I'm adding my glue on top of my baker's twine on both sides. Then I'm going to add my lace on top, and I'm just going to push it down just to make sure that it all gets glued down. So my baker's twine isn't going to go anywhere. Now I've got my pretty little flower. I'm going to put glue on the back. And I don't really trust these beads on here, so I'm going to glue my bead on. I'm going to make sure I don't lose that pretty little bead. That's the center that it comes with. So I'm going to glue my bead on. And there we have it. Isn't that adorable? Now, if you want to make a letter to go inside, I have a piece of my dyed paper. Now, you could use coffee dyed paper. This one has a little bit of pink food coloring on it, and you can get your stencil. Mine's bringing my lace with it. And we're going to just take your paper and take your, not that color, we want this color. Take your milled lavender or whatever other color you choose to use. Maybe you want a different color. And go around like we did before. It's so much easier now that we've moistened our pad. So much easier. It will go quicker too that we've moistened our pad. Okay. I'm going to go down here, go around here. Then we're going to pick it up. Oh, isn't that pretty? I'm going to place this back down right here. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to finish off this side of the paper. Okay. Pushing it up, and then I'm going to come in and finish off my paper. Now I'm only doing one side of this, although you could do both sides because you could easily write on top of that. That would not be an issue at all. But I did stamp this. So let's finish this off. what I did was I took this right here, my paragraph stamp, and I inked it up with my black StazOn, just like this, and then I just kind of went here and there with it. My computer's making a funny noise right now. I don't know why. Okay. Okay. I like that. Then the next thing I'm going to do, oh, I don't want to cover that up. I need that still. So I'm going to take that swirly whirly corner stamp, and I'm going to stamp my corners. I'm going to stamp this side. There we are. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that piece of paper in that I told you about. And it's not going to be long enough this way, but it's going to be long enough this way. It's long enough this way. So I'm going to tear it. And I'm doing this, well, actually I just ripped it. Let me see here if I can tear this a little better here. Okay, now I've torn that. Now I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to cut it. All right, so now I have a torn piece and I have a straight piece. I think I'm going to put it on this way. Okay, I like that. I don't know why I stamped up there because now I'm covering it up. It's okay, I'll go back and stamp that again. Got a little ahead of myself there. Let's get our frayed burlap back. And I need to ink this up like this. And I'm going to glue it right on. So adding my glue, and I'm using my art glitter glue to do this. This on the top. I need to turn this around so I can see better. If I don't hurry, it's going to, our glitter glue sets up pretty doggone fast. Okay. Now, I'm going to ink up the edges. We're making this look like it's been around for a very long time. I'm going to stamp this before I forget. There. We'll stamp this side. Just like that. Okay. All right. Oh yeah, that's looking great. You can also go ahead and fold it. So and then that way, sometimes it's easy. I find it easier to ink once I folded it. So I'm going to use my envelope to determine how much I need to fold this. And I think if I'm going to line it up, so that's going to be, is that going to be able to get in there? I think I better fold it there. Okay, I'm going to give that a crease. I'm going to pull this one over, give that a crease, and then I'm going to fold that over. Do you hear that dog snoring? He's really snoring. Fold it on itself like this. I think that would be prettier coming out of the envelope. Now, what I mean by I think it's easier to ink up is that I like to ink the folds of the paper. I think that, especially if you're making like a vintage style, and that's really what the ink is all about. You're kind of making it more vintage, or giving it a vintage feel. And because there's more than one layer of paper, to me, it's easier to run my sponge along that because it's supported by more than one piece of paper. And that's why I find it a little easier to ink. So then you can open it up. You can fold it back on itself and ink it up like this. Now there's one more thing I'm going to do that some of you will gasp. I'm trying to, it's really teaching myself to be a little more, the word is not messy, but so everything doesn't have to be straight and everything doesn't have to be cut. It can be torn, it can be crumpled, it can be ripped, but it needs to also look good that way. I mean, it's not like, you're just throwing it together and it doesn't look good that way. It is an art that that you kind of learn, you teach yourself to do, and that's something that I'd like to learn a little better. I can do it to a point, and then I kind of want to make it perfect, and that's what I'm trying not to do, is I'm trying to learn not to make it perfect. Okay, so I think I've got all the edges and the folds all inked up. Okay, so it's looking like that. Now, you can call it good and you can say, okay, that's great, I can stick it in my envelope. Or we can do something a little crazy, and that's just kind of crinkling it up a little bit. I know some people are twitching at this point in time, but I'm trying some new things, guys. So I didn't ruin it, I just crinkled it up. Like, it's been around for a very long time, and my grandmother had it, or maybe my great-grandmother had it, and it's been, around for a long time. And then we're going to pop it right in here. And I like having it show, having the decorations show. I'm going to pop it in there like that. Ooh, did I not fold it enough? I'm going to fold it over. Oh, I should have folded it a little more. Yeah, I should have folded it just a little more. Maybe I can get away with doing it that way. It's just a smidgen off. It's a smidgen off. Okay. I'm going to tie it back together. I don't really think you can tell it's a smidgen off, can you? I think only I'm going to be able to know it's a smidgen off. See, that's another thing. I need to get over that, right? It's not about being perfect. It's about looking vintage and looking old and looking elegant and kind of old world. You guys, I really do hope that you have enjoyed this video. And if you have, please give me a thumbs up. I invite you to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video. I'll see you there, guys. Bye now.